Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today, I would like to do what I love most, and that is to have my musings on the Bible. There, I would like to start with the book of Ecclesiastes. You know, Ecclesiastes is one of my favorite book in the Old Testament, and that's what I put in my blog as my verse in Ecclesiastes 3:1. As you can see in my about page in my channel, in Ecclesiastes 3:1 it says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." This is the one portion of the Ecclesiastes that is very popular. You know, that's where it says in verse 2 to 7 that all things happen to us: a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to flock, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down. All these things, no, in due season. Everything that we do, there is a season, and for every matter, a time for every matter under heaven. So it's very fitting to put this into perspective. Lahat ng ginagawa natin, whether we are doing vlogging and everything about our lives, there is a season for everything. So Ecclesiastes actually is a part of the literature, wisdom literature in the Bible. There are 5 books of the scripture of the Bible that belong to the wisdom literature, and that is Job, the book of Job, then Psalms, then Proverbs, and then this Ecclesiastes, and Songs of Solomon. And it's written in the poetic genre of the scripture. So it's quite a prophetic as you will read the wisdom literature, and Ecclesiastes is one part of it. So I believe the summary of reading wisdom literature we can see in Proverbs as to what is the purpose of the wisdom literature for us. In verse 2 and 3, in Proverbs 1, 2 and 3, it states there, "The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to give the prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth." So I believe this is the summary of the wisdom literature, why it was written for us, and that is that we may know wisdom, that we may know instruction, and that we may understand words of insight, that we may receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, in justice, and equity. So this is but the backdrop of what wisdom literature is all about. And we will begin with the Ecclesiastes, as I said that we want to have my musing. Now, in Ecclesiastes 1, it states there, we will read in verse 1, "The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem." So he introduces himself as the preacher, and he said he is the son of David, king in Jerusalem. So there are many scholars of the Bible that says the author of this book is the son of David, king in Jerusalem. So they conclude that pertains to King Solomon, who is the son of David, as we know, very wise king in the time of the Israelites, and is stated he is the preacher. A preacher specifically in the context of as the book says, Ecclesiastes, in the context of ecclesia, meaning it's a gathering. So he speaks of himself as preacher. So although many scholars believe that this is written by Solomon, it doesn't specifically states here in verse 1. So we cannot categorically say that this is King Solomon, but maybe he is the one who authored this. But we will see how the wisdom of this preacher transpires into every aspect of our lives. So in verse 2, he says, "Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity." So what do he means with this vanity? That he says vanity, does it mean he says that that all the things in this life are vanity or meaningless or without purpose? Yun ba ibig sabihin? Is that the meaning of what he's saying, that all is vanity? You know, vanity in the original Hebrew word that used here is the Hebrew word is hebel or hebel, meaning vapor. And the usage or the translation vanity is figuratively as figurative, vanity or meaningless. And we can see that all over Ecclesiastes, all over the book of Ecclesiastes, where he says vanity. You can see that all over as we progress in the book. Now, the preacher in the earlier part of this text, is the word vanity is quite unexplained. Hindi mo maintindihan hanggang unless you go to the end of the scripture of this book, that it becomes clear what he means by vanity, all is vanity. So does it mean vanity in the context of the whole revelation of scripture of God in universe, in creation, specifically in the context of creation, where Genesis 1 said all the things that God has done is good, no? Lahat ng ginawa ng Diyos, everything that He has created, the universe, the earth, and all that is in it, human being, He created good. So that in itself, it doesn't speak absolutely that vanity. What he says that all is vanity is that everything here is meaningless or vanity, even when God created us. But you have to see Ecclesiastes. We have to see Ecclesiastes in the whole context of the scripture. We said in Genesis 1, but we can see also in Genesis 2 that that men fell into sin. Through Adam, all have sinned, according to Romans say all have sinned. So under the fall of men, we can see the light of this vanity. That we can see that in the later progress of the book, where he says in the context of how we view this life, not in itself, life in itself, but life in the context of our relationship with God. So it says there, all will be accountable. We will be accountable for what we do under God's. We should see that in later portion. So he says all is vanity in the ultimate context of how God has created us, how God is created us, and that is He created us for Himself. You know, there is a favorite quotation from Augustine, our early father Augustine. There is according to him, there is a God-shaped vacuum in the hearts of every man, and only by God can He fill that vacuum in our hearts. Okay, so that we should see that in that context of what it means to say what the preachers say, that all is vanity. No? And in verse 3, he begins with our work, or with our toil in this earth. Whatever we do, whatever work we have, it specifically will explain that vanity, or that vapor, or in Tagalog is only panandalian lamang yung buhay natin sa mundo. So how we could have that meaning that is not vanity, that is not vain, is in the context of our relationship with God. So verse 3, he asks us that what does man gain? What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? He questions our most basic thing, or basic thing that we do in this life, and that is work. We work. We know we work in this life. We work for sustaining all our needs. You know, without work, we cannot live. That's logical, no? If according to Paul in Timothy, let those who do not work, let them not eat. So it's the basic means for God to sustain us is through our work. And here the preacher is speaking, what does we gain by all the toil at which we toil under the sun? So he specifically questioned basically our existence when it comes to our work, he says. And this is a recurring theme here in Ecclesiastes, is about work. In chapter 3:9, he questioned again that, what gain has the worker from his toil? In 5:15, he said, as he came from his mother's womb, he shall go again naked as he came, and he shall take nothing for his toil that he may carry away in his hands. In also earlier in 2:11, then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity, and a striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. In 6:11, the more words, the more vanity, and what is the advantage to man? And in 10:11, so it's a recurring theme, it's a recurring concern of the preacher. So if life frequently makes no sense, kung ang buhay is, if life doesn't make sense, and pleasures, he says specifically, also will speak about pleasures, our achievements in life are but fleeting. That is basically what he is saying, that our life is just a vapor and it's fleeting. So that thing, that all these things has any significance to our existence? Does it have any significance sa buhay natin? Lahat ng ating ginagawa, lahat ng pleasures, entertainment, achievements, wisdom, according to the preacher, he has already done experience. As we will see that, he said. So the praise under the sun, that means under the sun does not pertain to any point of view or secular point of view, but he's speaking specifically saying is that in the perspective of biblical point of view, or ultimately ends in the meaning for under the sun that we are doing in the context of God as our creature, God as our creator, and we are his creature, and what we do under him. So you can see that preachers referring frequently to God. So you cannot exclude, you cannot say that what the preacher is saying is a secular view, or without reference to God as the meaning of life, as meaning of reality, no? Meaning of reality, yung buhay natin in reality. That's why it says under the sun. It's not a secular point of view that he's saying, but it's really in the context of biblical view, God view, that he's explaining here. So in verse 4 to verse 11, that's what he is say that is vanity. Let us read. He said, a generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north. Around and around goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, there they flow again. All things are full of weariness. A man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what we will be, and what has been done is what we will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it said this is new? It has been already in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of later things yet to be among those who come after. So in verse 4 and verse 4 to 11, the preacher is saying the vanity of the natural world. The natural world. The endless repetition of natural cycle, seasons on this earth produces nothing new. Walang iba. There is nothing new sa cycle ng world. And thus, it appears that everything goes without real meaning. Walang bago. There is nothing new whatever is being done on the earth. According to the preacher, a generation goes, a generation comes. The earth remains forever. The sun rises, the sun goes down. The wind blows to the south, the goes around to the north. So around and around goes to the wind, he says. So, and he said, all streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. So, to the place where the streams flow, and he said, all things are full of weariness, a man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what we will be, and what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. So there is nothing new under this present life. Walang pagbabago. There is nothing new that we can say new that appears to us here. And that appears to be without direction or purpose. Kaya niya sinabi na vanity. Parang ulit-ulit lang ang nangyayari in the cycle of the natural cycle. Repeats itself without a new thing. That's basically what he means. That it appears that natural cycle will go on and on and on without producing anything new. So in verse 11, he says there is no remembrance of former things. Walang nakakaalala sa lahat ng nangyayari before. And also of later things, as he said. So, there is no remembrance of former people, nor of later people. Oh? So, let's say, let's say nabuhay yung isang tao na napakatalino, nag-contribute ng achievements sa world. But when he died, sino makakaalala ng kanyang ginawa? Ng lubos na makakaalala ng kanyang ginawa. He is not remembered anymore. No? He may be Einstein or other significant figures before, but he's dead and there's no remembrance of former things or people. No? Pag namatay ka na, wala na, hindi ka na maaalala. Kahit ano pa yung ginawa mo, kahit napakayaman mo pa, even though you are filthy rich, kapag namatay ka na, makakalimutan ka na ng tao. So yun yung ibig niyang sabihin doon. That's what he meant. So as the generation comes and generations go, dun sa verse 4, so konti lang, there will be many few people who make any significant impact or purpose sa course of world history na maaalala natin lagi. Diba? So the majority of us, the majority of human being we will live and die and then return to obscurity. Hindi na tayo maaalala. Ang maalala lang yung mga malalaking contribution sa society. Diba? Pero most of us will live and die, and then we die, and then we turn into obscurity. Yun yung meaning, yun yung sinasabi ng preacher. So the never-ending march of our generation, human generations, yung next generation will leave. Now is the generation of millennials. Dati yung Generation X, Generation Y, ngayon millennials. Next time will be coming. Meron bang bago na lilitaw na generation? No. All of us, human race, after we die, we live, we die, and then we are obscure now. So what the preacher is saying is that seemingly that it seems that the never-ending march or saga of our generation, human generation, appears to be meaningless. Appears to be there is no purpose because it's ganun cycle without anything new. So that is in the perspective of what he sees in this life. So we will turn next time in my blog on verse, we will continue on verse 12, that he again speaks, he introduced himself as the preacher who have been king over Israel in Jerusalem. That's why he's qualified to say that, in the terms of qualification of wisdom, that he is wise. He says specifically he's sick. He has sick wisdom. So he is very qualified to speak of what he is saying in verse 12 following. So thank you for this introduction that I have mused. Hope that it will give a better perspective, wise perspective on life. What we gathered, we should live wisely according to the words of the preacher in the Bible. Thank you. See you next time. Please subscribe to my channel if you consider this as valuable things. Thank you.